Shalom everyone, this is Amir Tsarfati and today is April 9th. This is Monday morning here in Rome, Italy, and I just wanted to give you a short update on the Israeli airstrike in Syria. Again, today is April 9th. This is Monday morning here in Rome, Italy, and I want to give you a quick short update on the strike on the Syrian largest airbase, the T4, the Tias airbase, which is not just the largest airbase, but it's also the only really operational airbase of the Syrian Air Force, together with Iranian Revolutionary Guard and Russians that are on the ground. And I just want you to know that we're talking about a place that has been attacked already in the middle of February, following the drone flight into Israel. If you remember, and I reported that the Iranian drone that penetrated into Israeli airspace, and we shot him down, but we had to go all the way and destroy the area where it was operated from, and that was that airbase. So Israel struck there more than once, but the last time, which was in the middle of February, we destroyed a control tower of one of them over there. Now, while everybody were bracing for an American strike, Israel had to do what Israel needed to do. And let me explain what happened. 2 Israeli fighter jets flew all the way to Lebanon, and from the Lebanese airspace released several rockets and hit a very, very, what we call prime target within that airbase. We did not destroy the airbase. The place that was attacked within that airbase, it's a large airbase. The place that was attacked was an Iranian headquarters within that base. It has to be very clear, not only that Israel knows exactly where the airbase is, but we also know exactly where within the airbase the Iranians are. And we hit that place, and more than a dozen Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders died on the spot. Now, while everybody were bracing towards an American strike with cruise missiles or something else, Israel did what Israel had to do. We literally hit the airbase from where the helicopter that dropped that barrel of gas in Duma a couple days ago, that's where he took off from. And but let me explain, this is not where it stops. It's not where it stops, because this is just an Israeli strike. We cannot accept the genocide using chemical and biological weapons across our border and sit and do nothing. Israel is a country that was founded by Holocaust, well, for the most part, by Holocaust survivors. And we have been gassed. We have been led to the slaughter as civilians who took no part in the combat effort between armies. And as I said yesterday, if you remember, the Israeli chief rabbi said that Israel cannot sit and do nothing as a nation that rose out of from the ashes of the Holocaust. And yesterday, when I told you that, I said this is sort of a way to tell our politicians and military personnel that it is okay for us to strike there. And so we did. In the middle of the night, several aircraft from southern Israel, the Israelis who lives in the southern part of the country, heard a very unusual number of takeoffs and flights of many fighter jets. We attacked 2 targets. One is in Beit Lahia in Gaza, in response to the Palestinian bombs that they put along the fence, which we found before they were activated. And so we basically strike Hamas targets in Beit Lahia in Gaza. And this is the only strike Israel took responsibility for, and we announced that. But the other strike was actually carried in the heart of Syria by flying all the way above Lebanon and releasing those rockets from there. And this is why, by the way, the confusion started. People thought it's American cruise missiles coming all the way from the Mediterranean, because the strike did not come from the south, from Israel, but it actually came from the west, from Lebanon. And I want you to know that the White House still is in a dilemma, because President Trump made it very clear that he will not tolerate any chemical attack on civilians. And last time he took action by sending close to 60 cruise missiles to the Khmeimim air base. It's a different one. This time we're expecting something to be done also by the Americans. But a lot of people are asking me, Amir, why is it that Assad is attacking his own people with chemical weapon? And let me explain. And it has to be very clear to all of you that this whole battle on the city of Douma really bothered the Syrian regime for the longest time. There's about 150,000 civilians that live in that area. Jaish al-Islam, the army of Islam, these are the Sunni rebels. They are very well entrenched in that area. And the advancement of the Syrian military to get rid of that pocket of rebels was just too slow, and the fear was that it's going to take months or years with thousands of casualties, and so Assad chose the easiest path of, let's just gas them once and they'll give up. And by the way, that's exactly what happened. He gassed them and they gave up. That's exactly what happened. It worked. The rebels in Douma are about to be evacuated to the Idlib area in the north, and a couple thousand people will probably escape with them, and that's what he wanted. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand the rebels did not gas themselves, because if they would have gassed themselves, they would not give up. In fact, they would continue to entrench themselves there. What's the point of gas yourself, kill your women, your children, and then give up also? There's no point in that one. It is a tactic that Assad used also in Homs, he used it also in Aleppo, and he's using it right now in that very troubling suburb of Damascus. Now, you must understand that this suburb of Damascus is just a few miles away from his own palace. He could not afford having them there. And therefore, he had to do that. He knew that the Russians will cover up for him. He knew that the Iranians will cover up for him. And he knew that just like last time, it will be a little strike maybe from America, a little condemnation from the UN, and that's it. Nobody's going to do anything to him. Knowing that nobody is touching Iran, knowing that nobody is touching North Korea, he understood nobody's going to touch me. It's all about survival. I can do whatever I want to do as long as it will serve my interest. That's what it is. Now, of course, you have to understand, for Assad, these people are not Syrians. They're terrorists. These people are not his people. These people do not deserve his protection. For him, they deserve to die. They are not even Shiite Muslims. They're not even serving the cause of Syria. So their blood is okay to be poured or shed. And we're talking about that one. Now, President Trump, as I said, is in a great dilemma, because first of all, he promised his voters that he will no longer pour billions of dollars in the Middle East war, because it brought nothing and it wasted American money, and he doesn't need to fight for other people over there. So basically what happened is that he postponed that dilemma right now in half a year, and as I said, he decided to keep his soldiers for 6 more months, and the Saudis are most likely going to finance the stay within those 6 months, and the building up of 20 bases in the eastern part of Syria. And so instead of evacuation of American soldiers, we actually see pouring of American soldiers into that territory. This is a real dilemma for Trump, because it will show how resilient and determined he is to stop Iran, that got very strong, very big ever since Obama released over $100 billion and caused Iran to become a regional monster. Without this money, Iran could have not done what he did in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, Bahrain, and more. The Obama legacy is such a huge burden until today, and it affects the Middle East until today, and basically Trump has to deal with that one. And so I just want you to understand that Israel struck that place in an attempt to put an end to those airstrikes, in also an attempt to tell the Syrians, we are not going to sit and do nothing, seeing the killing of innocent civilians here. Now, you will not believe how many people attacked me online for releasing the information that Israel did that. They believe that it's not credible, although both the Russians and the Syrians admit now that it was 2 Israeli jets. But when I reported that few hours ago, everybody thought that it's baseless. Second, people accused me for serving the interest of the Zionists, and why is it that Israel is not saying that Israel did that? Why are you so sneaky? Why are you so... Well, let me tell you something. We do not owe anyone any announcement. If you are the problem, and if you kill civilians, me striking military targets where you carry those attacks from is not something I need to give explanations for. With all the respect, all the criticism should be directed towards the killers of the civilians and not to Israel. And I just want you to know that yesterday when I reported on the chemical attack and the options, I took down that video after probably half an hour. And the reason is I was asked to do that because I was there talking about the option of Israel attacking, and I didn't want to give any clues to my enemies, to our enemies, about any possible Israeli strike that will come first. And so I'm glad that Israel took the initiative here. I'm glad that we're taking care of this. I'm glad that we're not hiding or putting our hands on our eyes and just turning away and turning blind eye to what's going on there. And all I can tell you is that the Israelis are troubled, deeply troubled with what we see that is going on in Syria. We're deeply troubled. We're not the people who care less about what's going on around them. We deeply care about those Syrian civilians. We see the atrocities that the Assad regime is committing. We see, and we're shocked to see that the International Court for Crimes is dealing with the Gaza thing, where terrorists died, and is not dealing with the killing of innocent civilians with gas, chlorine, and sarin, and all of that. This is shameful thing on behalf of the international community and the UN. And I want to tell you something. Truth will prevail eventually. But all we need is that people will open their eyes to see what's really is going on over there. So that's basically what happened. Israel carried this airstrike. Israeli jets flew over Lebanon. Israeli jets released several rockets and missiles, and that was a very selected target within the T4 airbase, the Tiat airbase, south of the city of Homs, in the heart of Syria. And I'm a very, very proud Israeli today to see and to know that we did something. These atrocities cannot go unanswered and without any attention by someone. So again, Israeli fighter jets did that. Americans said they didn't do it. And by the way, originally the Syrians accused the Americans, and when the Americans denied it, and Americans don't deny normally. When they attack, they tell the whole world we did that for a reason. They want the world to understand America is taking care of its interests, and but America said we did not do it, and the Syrians immediately changed their tone and said, okay, well, maybe it's not America, and maybe after all it's not cruise missiles. From the moment it happened, obviously I knew it's Israel, but let me tell you something, the Russians knew it's Israel also. The Russians knew that because the Israelis alerted the Russians a few minutes before, so they can evacuate their equipment and their soldiers. And therefore, there were no Russian casualties, and there were only Iranian casualties. And you're asking yourself, how come the Russians did not tell the Iranians? Well, let me tell you something. The Russians are not that excited about Iranian presence in Syria. And the Russians are willing to deal with that, or to live with that, but they're not happy about it. And so it's sort of like Iran does what Iran wants to do. Russia is trying to keep its own interest there, and Bashar al-Assad is enjoying both the Iranian and the Russian protection over there. So this is what happened. Russia confirmed its Israeli jets. Syria changed its tone, and now it's saying, yes, it is Israel. Israel is not confirming that because we do not confirm. We don't tell people what we do and what we don't do unless we find it important to say so. And we just don't. And this is it, guys. Thank you. And we need to pray. Pray. Not only that we need to pray for the Syrian civilians right now who pay the dear price of this very, very unreasonable war, but also we need to pray for Israel right now more than ever before, because right now, ladies and gentlemen, the Russians and the Iranians are angry with Israel. We have publicly humiliated them. You know, they were expecting an American strike. An Israeli one came. They could not stop it. They only were alerted minutes before, where it was already too late for them to do something about it, only to just hide. And Israel is on the blacklist of Russia and Iran right now. So interesting times, very interesting times. I can smell Isaiah 17, and I can almost see Ezekiel 38 and 39 around the corner. So we need to pray for the situation right now, and we need to pray that the will of God will be done. And if you're a believer, this is our time to get ready. Fasten your seatbelts and make sure that you are going to be ready. Be ready, be ready, be ready. Thank you, and God bless you, and shalom. Bye-bye.